Hello and welcome back to SpriteGuard Plays HyperRogue. We are right back at the beginning after that unfortunate loss in the Land of Storms. That was pretty disappointing. It was one of those things where the spawn rate just shot up really high and I was not prepared for it. And I was not paying enough attention to combat. And I'm not really comfortable enough with that land yet, and so that is something that we will be looking to get more comfortable with. We also have the zebra that I still feel very unconfident in, and the whirlpool. However, I had an idea for this time around, and that is I want to, if we go to the world overview, as much as possible I would like to try and fill this out from top to bottom. Now there are a couple of reasons why we can't do this exactly. The first of which is the crossroads, hyperstones, are only available once we have filled out most of the other lands. The other is the palace quest. I don't want to go on. You know, I might change my mind when we get to that point, but I still don't feel really good about recording that. I feel like I'm just not able to commentate that very well. And the same thing for Camelot. I don't find that very interesting to watch. I don't find myself very able to commentate it. I might do little extra side videos of that. If I figure out a way to make it work, I'll make it work, but my plan for now is we're going to skip those. We're going to skip the crossroads, we're going to skip the Camelot quest and the palace quest. And I'm not sure if the Yender quest is a separate entry in here. I don't think it is, so we don't have to worry about that. But that is the plan. So we're going to start out in the icy land. We're going to look for a living cave, a desert. Land of Eternal Motion will have to be the third one, and so we will have to be pretty quick along the way. So let's see if we can do that. So we are starting out in the icy land. We are going to be looking for 10 ice diamonds. The icy land is the original land that was in the game, and the reason for the icy land being the original land was that because of the one hit point nature of the game, it was very easy in the early builds to just sit in, kind of get yourself into a corner where there was only one entrance and just sit there and have monsters come to you and just wait for them. And there was no challenge to it, and so he made the walls melt. And that's a pretty cool way of handling that particular tactic. And so the original Game Jam version of the game was just the icy land, and there has been a whole bunch of other stuff added since then, which I think is so... I love it when, cool ideas from game jams get turned into great, big, magnificent games. So we are on the lookout for a living cave. And we have an orb of flash to protect us, so we can kind of... Whoop! Well, not if I do that. I was going to say we can kind of be a little bit more casual, run along, but now we are right back to being vulnerable. And I'm kind of two minds. There's part of me that says, I should fill them out, roughly in order, but if I'm seeing all of these other lands, I should... And part of me is like, no, I want to fill them out exactly in order. And so here's the living cave. We didn't have to go far to find it. I didn't think we would. We can melt our way through these walls easily enough and get in there. And the living cave... one of those lands that, started out as pretty difficult, started out as something that I struggled with a lot. Still very difficult to speedrun through because of the way that trolls tend to move. But it's still a land that I am very comfortable with, and it has some pretty cool properties. What I think of as the coolest property of the land is what I call the antechamber effect, which is, it has these twisty passages, and you can just turn right, and turn right, and they will branch and branch and branch, and you just keep turning right like this, and you will never get back where you started because the angle of the branching is so shallow that it's just not really possible for loops to form in the cave. I mean, it might be technically possible, but it's certainly not likely that you'll ever find a loop in the living cave. And let's check. I believe let's see. So we still have the desert before the Land of Eternal Motion. So we have a desert right here, but we may not be able to get to it because of that troll, and I don't want to get caught in that cave-in. So now we have to find another desert. That shouldn't be too difficult. The Orb of Life is pretty useful. The Golem is pretty powerful. You know, we don't want to get attached to him. We don't want to be like trying to preserve him, but he'll do some good work for us. In the living cave in particular, he might be a little bit of trouble because he might attack trolls and cause cave-ins where we don't want to. But out here in the desert now, he'll just follow us around and hopefully protect our back a little bit. Might want to stay near this crossroads. We're kind of it's a little bit early yet, and so I think I'm going to move on from it just because I don't want to be like right up against the crossroads being like, oh, we gotta find treasures within sight of it. So there's our treasures. We're properly lost now. I was not paying attention to what direction I was going, but that's fine. The main thing we're actually looking for is a Land of Eternal Motion anyway. So let's activate that thumper, go around it. Mirrored Land. Not gonna go there. We are just looking for the Land of Eternal Motion, because that is the next on the list, and we are going to go down the list as exactly as possible. And part of me kind of wants to say, you know, we can't even go into the crossroads until we've done the alchemy lab. That might be a little too extreme. But we have, I think, a pretty good adventure set out for us. I've talked about one of the things that I really like in games is when, there's not a huge amount of story, but the story of playing the game, the adventure that you go on just by playing the game, is one that really appeals to me, as thin of a plot as it is. So here is our Land of Eternal Motion. We want to find an entrance that will not take us through that spice. Now, we just have to say goodbye to our golem, because it cannot follow us. The Land of Eternal Motion just doesn't work. Golems are more trouble than they're worth at that point. So we are going to grab up our Phoenix Feathers. And then we're probably going to be looking toward wrapping it up. I don't know. I think maybe the thing to do is to get all of the starting lands today. So the Land of Eternal Motion, another one of the early lands in the game, and one of the more interesting from kind of a geometric point of view. And there's kind of a lot to say about it. If you follow a straight line that goes through heptagons, the dogs will have to go slightly further than you. And so you can escape them by doing that very consistently. And there are some kind of curves that you can walk along. There's an equidistant curve that I refer to as the Land of Eternal Motion line because I end up following it. And it's basically, you follow heptagon, hexagon, hexagon, heptagon. And then instead of following the Great Wall line that goes like that, you go just straight for 2 more hexagons and a heptagon. And so that takes you along a very shallow curve. There's a straight line that passes extremely close to it. In fact, I think if you just step off of it even one step, it will curve in the other direction. So that's how closely this curve follows a line. And it's another path that you can run along, that because there's it takes more steps to go around a heptagon than to go through it. This is a line that will take you away from the dogs that are pursuing you. And so you can follow along it pretty safely. And so in speedruns, it's very nice. It's very easy to follow this line. And you can move along it very quickly. You can also follow more of a zigzag, where instead of always turning the same direction, you turn right at the heptagon and then left, and we're not going to pick up that phoenix feather because we already have 10. But you can do a zigzag, and that will take you along a slightly different line. And so the Land of Eternal Motion is, I think it's really cool how it's very simple, and it's very, it's very empty, but it is kind of, it manages to be interesting. It's also, it's nice to have an easier area in the game. I was reading an interview with Derek Yu, the creator of, most famously, Spelunky. Also, I believe, created Eternal Daughter, and I don't know if he's created anything else, but really talented game designer. Just on the strength of Spelunky, I will say, very, very talented game designer. Now, where are we headed next? After Land of Eternal Motion is the jungle. So let's find that. And he was talking about this quirk of Spelunky that people often commented on, was that the third world, the ice caves, they have some new mechanics. They have the bottomless pits, and they have the spaceships, but it's actually easier than the jungle, which is considered one of the most difficult areas in the game. And he was talking about how people had commented that World 3 was easier than World 2. And he said, yeah, that was intentional, because you don't want your game to just be... It's not ideal to have a game be a kind of monotonic increase in difficulty, because you get very tired that way. And I just realized we're fighting a double here, which is bad news. And I think I'm just going to run away from that. As we get more treasures, they're going to become more common. And so we're going to have to look out for that. But up to 10, we shouldn't see them very often. And we just need 3 more of these treasures. We do need to be on the lookout for eagles. There's one right there. And we're down to the last 2 treasures that we need, so we're looking for an exit as much as we're looking for treasures at this point. And I believe the exit that we're looking for is the Alchemy Lab. Let's double check that. Yep, Alchemy Lab. So let's see if we can find one, and that will, I believe, be the last of the starting lands that we are looking for. So we have 10 rubies now. We're not looking for any more. Just looking for an exit at this point. And I'm starting to, my head is starting to get that kind of that feeling of, oh, you've been doing this episode a little bit too long. It is time to wrap things up. And so I'm going to try to do that as quickly as possible. I do want to get the Alchemy Lab knocked out so that we can just cover all of the starting lands right at the beginning. But, that might not end up working out. There are many reasons why that might not end up working out. We might just not find one in a reasonable amount of time. Which is a little bit frustrating that we're seeing so few exits, and they are all into lands that we don't really want to go to. Now, let's see. We only have 50 treasures, so I don't think the advanced lands are available yet. I think the advanced lands might be the second thing that we take on. And that's going to be very difficult, because one of the advanced lands is the zebra. And the zebra is one of the hardest lands in the game, in my opinion. I think people would probably dispute that. It is, I guess what would be more accurate to say is that it is one of the lands that I am least equipped to deal with. And so that is something that I am really worried about. Let's see, can we get that? Nope. I'm never really sure where the lightning's going to go. And there might be a little bit of randomness to it. I'm actually going to head into the icy land, because we can kind of use this as a mini crossroads. Lands won't be as common here, but the reason I'm going in here is basically because we can navigate a lot more freely. We can move a lot more quickly, and so we're just much more able to look for an alchemy lab, which is a starting land. It should be unlocked, and so it's just bad luck that we're not seeing one. And we're just going to... There's a crossroads, so that's going to have kind of the best, most ideal balance between speed of movement and the number of lands that we can see and the amount of threats, and there's an alchemy lab right there. So, now we are looking for treasures. And they seem very few and far between, which is a little bit of a surprise. But there we go. Now they're spawning. Want to be careful not to splash slime on any of them. That is a really good way to make things harder for ourselves. But the alchemy lab is... I think it was the one of the first attempts at making a maze level in the game. But of course, making a maze in this game, there's a lot of challenges, and of course, one of the things that that kind of came up in all of the attempts to make a maze level in the game was that problem that I mentioned in the Icy Land of just the player being able to back into a corner and take monsters on one by one. And so that's where he got the idea of having monsters that move through the walls, and then that kind of just very nicely extended to having just totally blurring the line between walls and hallways. And so the alchemy lab was born, and the alchemy lab is really great. I love. I think I don't remember if it was in this. I don't think it's in the overview or in the help text, but I remember somewhere in some notes about the game, some mention that in a Euclidean hexagon hex grid geometry, there's only ever a path. You can either have a red path or a blue path connecting from one side to the other. It comes from this game hex where you're trying to get a red path from left to right or a blue path from top to bottom, and only one can actually be completed. And so that has implications for the Euclidean mode, the alchemy lab being much more difficult to navigate because of that. And there was some comment about that's true in this grid as well, but there are more directions to go in. And I think that's just a very good kind of way of explaining a lot of the quirks of this game, is just there are more directions to go in. So at this point, we are mainly on the lookout for an orb of safety. We would like to wrap this up. I am getting quite tired, and that is an orb of the storm, orb of storms, orb of speed. Boy, we're picking up some pretty good stuff. Now, does orb of speed does not affect decay rates. Decays still happen once per turn, which is not ideal, but whatever. I guess the orb of speed, it speeds you up and anything you happen to be holding. It's a little bit frustrating. Boy, today has just been a day of not being able to find things. And it's like, the more... Well, I guess in this game, the rule kind of always holds that the more specific the thing you're looking for, the less likely you are to find it. And here we go. Here is our orb of safety. There we go. So, in the next episode, we are going to be looking for the Mirrored Land, the Minefield, the Zebra, the Palace. So we're not going to be doing Advanced Lands exactly in order. And I think the better way to do it is to go down the list like this, because I'm not even sure that we've unlocked all of the Advanced Lands. Let's see, Dead Cave is unlocked. Red Rock Valley is unlocked. Actually, we might have all of them, but I'm a little bit worried about losing track of my place. But this is, if we just go down the list, it's going to be very easy to keep our place. So I think that is how I'm going to be doing things. So, until then, thank you very much for watching, and have a great rest of your day.